Hello and welcome once again to our Le Rugby World Cup update show here on France 24. Once again, I have the pleasure of being joined in studio by renowned rugby journalists Ian Borthwick and Laurent Bellet to go over the latest action. Gentlemen, welcome once again. Another scintillating week of rugby. Let's get straight into those results then. Uruguay started things off this week with a 36-26 win over Namibia. A very spirited Namibia. Japan set up a must-win clash against Argentina after they beat Samoa by 6 points. New Zealand absolutely demolished Italy 96-17 to prove their credentials yet again. Argentina came out on top in the All-South American Challenge with Chile, while Fiji all but secured their spot in the quarters with a hard-fought win over Georgia. Scotland steamrolled Romania 84 points to 0. Australia fended off a spirited Portugal 34-14. And South Africa in the late game on Sunday beat Tonga 49-18. Gentlemen, a lot of interesting matches, it has to be said, but quite a discrepancy in the results, and certainly in terms of those the top teams versus the bottom teams. Ian, that Australia-Portugal game, how did that go for you?
Yeah, I think, well, obviously Australia had to win that, and Portugal were full of spirit, but again, they just don't have sufficient technique to get over the line when they need to. Australia came out of it okay, but nothing really spectacular from Australia. It was the minimum I think you would expect from a team like of that ranking, or what used to be that ranking.
And of course, not a lot really that they can play for still. I mean, they're really hanging in there by a thread. They require Fiji to lose in their next game against Portugal, and just have to hope, isn't that so?
Yeah, I can't see that happening. I mean, Portugal have been great. They've brought a lot of spirit to this World Cup, and their fans are fantastic. But I don't think that Fiji will be upset by Portugal when they play them next week.
And the reverse there, we saw there Tonga today, Laurent, very strong in the ruck at least. They got to the try line, South Africa's try line, several occasions. They couldn't really punish them and ultimately fell short. How did you see that game?
It's always the same with bottom team and the top team. When they are very near the line, the top team they score, and for the other teams like Portugal against Australia, they have a lot of time near the line, but they have trouble to score. It was the same for the Tongan. The Tongan they play a good game. They scored 3 tries, but they have the opportunities to score more. But the difference between the top team and the others is the energy that you have to depend to score a try.
And what about the defense?
Yes, for sure. The defense is important. The defense of the top team are really good, especially the defense of the South African. But I think the other team they are maybe not prepared mentally to score, and there is a lack of precision. Sometimes on the line out, sometimes with the pass, and some mistakes, and they can't try. But they are able to keep the ball, and that may be the first step to progress.
And we'll see if they can progress. Of course, one of those teams who is very clinical indeed is New Zealand. Well, they absolutely demolished Italy, managed by an All Black themselves in Kieran Crowley. Of course, it was a must-win for Ian Foster's team. So many reasons. Ian, least of all, to show that they are still there and kicking. Was this the New Zealand that always existed?
Well, I think they've been up and down a bit especially over the past couple of years. But I think that was always what New Zealand were going to try and produce at this World Cup. They don't have a choice. They know they can't outmuscle South Africa physically. They know they can't beat Ireland by playing Ireland's game. They've got to go back and play New Zealand style rugby with a bit of flamboyance and a lot of precision actually, a lot of precision, and just be ruthless. And they were ruthless right from the kickoff, and they stayed on task. Every single player stayed on task right till the end of the game, and that was what was so impressive from this All Blacks performance, that they nailed it. They showed that they've been working hard on a game which is made of precision, and they've been working on the coordination of all that. And I think that just showed that whatever the other team does, the New Zealand is going to be very hard to stop.
Very hard to stop, and it looks like with the permutations that could be on play, at least according to the form book, it could be Ireland in the quarterfinals for New Zealand. And of course, devastating if one of those teams doesn't make the semis. That's the way the draw's been made. But Laurent, have you seen enough from New Zealand to say that they have improved since that France result?
For me, no one team have made the impression that the New Zealand have done against Italy. And if I was an Irish, I have to wonder, was it a good idea to beat South Africa? Because in the quarterfinal we have we have an appointment with the New Zealander, and no, they have a collective strength, and there is no other team which can have this power and this mastery, and they play a huge game, because against it wasn't Namibia. It was Italy who played for the Six Nations since more than 20 years. But they were clinical with the speed, with the power. It was a really, really good New Zealand team. And the back of Retallick, the back of Frizzell, they have been good as a team.
I mean, but that's Italy and just demolished. What does that say?
Well, Italy, I would remind you, beat Australia over the past year. Beat Australia, beat Wales. They only lost to France by 4 points in the Six Nations. Against Ireland, they were only 7 points behind with 15 minutes to play. So a lot of people, and I think the All Blacks included, were very wary of Italy. They knew that this was not just a weak team that could be taken lightly. And so I think New Zealand needed to make that statement, and wanted to make that statement, show that they had their game up and running, and that they were on target to play the sort of rugby they want to play to win this World Cup.
And of course, one of those players that was in that statement win was a very special man indeed, is Sam Whitelock. It's a sport of sentiment after all. Now he became the most capped player for the All Blacks ever, overtaking Richie McCaw, 149 test caps. This is what he had to say when reflecting on that achievement.
It hasn't sunken in yet, and I don't think it ever will. I still find it weird walking down the street and people want to stop and have a yarn about rugby and this and that, or talk about different games. Because I just still see myself as the country kid that just love the game of rugby, and that's the way I always see it. And my lovely family would tell me if I was getting ahead of myself too, so it probably keeps me pretty well grounded.
Ian, you must have some very special memories of Sam.
Yes, he's been a fantastic player for the Crusaders, obviously, and for New Zealand over all these years. And to go past Richie McCaw's record is something quite amazing, especially for a second row forward. He's the godfather of this All Black team, and I mean, a lot of people thought he was on his last legs, but he's shown in the games he's played in the last year that he's still got it, and he's still someone that the All Blacks can count on when it comes into the tough end of this World Cup. And I think we can see again the sort of the humility and the simplicity of the guy. I think it's very much a symbol of New Zealand rugby, just right there.
I mean, so much leadership, and of course they're going to have to look towards that in the fixtures to come. A brilliant servant he's been for the game, and I'm sure even for the French, they can appreciate those players who are on the opposition sides who really make that statement. But of course, Laurent, then let's talk about those up-and-coming teams. They don't have that many caps on their benches. They don't have that much experience. We touched on this previously in terms of what they can bring to the table, and we're seeing huge points differences still now. How can World Rugby make up for this discrepancy?
I think the team have to play each other. We have for example in South America there is the Chile. They play good rugby. There is the Uruguay. He plays a good rugby. Argentina. They have to play together to improve the level of everybody. And in Europe that's the same with Georgia, with Portugal, and maybe with Spain. We was qualified for the World Cup, and they have been replaced by the Romanian. But we have to improve the level of other nations, and Portugal, Spain, Georgia in Europe, and in South Africa we have some good view of Chile and Uruguay, and well,
So basically, improve in terms of the amount of games played. I mean, we saw a shocking statistic, in my opinion, that Namibia has only played 7 games since the last World Cup.
Yeah, and teams like Samoa and Tonga have only played 12, which the other teams are playing every year. This is, I think, a condemnation of World Rugby, the way that they have failed to take on the responsibility for these so-called minor nations. The Rugby World Cup, if it wants to be a real shop window of the game, it has to have better competition from the so-called minor teams. And the only way that that's going to happen, and Pablo Lemoine said it straight after Chile had played a very spirited game a couple of weeks ago, that the same thing will be happening in 4 years' time if they don't get more games. They shouldn't have to come to a World Cup and play England and play whoever else they're playing, stronger teams, to learn about how to play international rugby. They should be getting those games year in, year out to increase the value and increase the quality of the rugby in those countries.
And I mean, we saw it with that enterprising play of Portugal throughout the tournament. You want to see these teams playing because they really do have something there if they played against those tier 1 nations.
As I said to Jan before the show, teams like Spain and Portugal, maybe they can find deep with the players. We have family from Portugal and Spain who plays in top 14. I'm sure there's some player we can join the selection. There is Mike Tadger and Cerquera and also Marquez, the scrum half. They play in France. And they bring experience and quality to this team, and that's been the same for the back of the New Zealander with Tonga, with Fekitoa and Putao. They play now for Tonga. Before they were playing for New Zealand, and we have to find solution and find players that have origin in a country that can help.
And of course, those new rules which say that you can play for the homeland that of your parents' birth, of course, that's allowed for that transition. Well, let's look forward to some of those fixtures now next week. New Zealand, Uruguay. It's a must-win clash between France and Italy. Wales against Georgia. England face up against Samoa. Ireland and Scotland. Then Japan against Samoa as well. Tonga, Romania, and Fiji, Portugal. That's rather England against Samoa, Japan, and Argentina. That crunch game in Pool D. So, Ian, we're going to go straight to you. I don't think it needs any saying that Ireland-Scotland game is the standout one because, of course, neither team has actually qualified yet. South Africa waiting on that result there as well.
Well, this has always loomed as the key game in this pool, the one which will separate the winners and the losers and determine who goes through to the quarterfinals. It's going to be a fantastic event, I'm sure, at the Stade de France. I think you've got Ireland, who are very confident in their game, but then you've also got Scotland, who have been playing fantastic rugby under Gregor Townsend. They're really showing, a bit like the All Blacks in a way, showing that they can play with speed and use their skill. I'm not sure if it's enough to beat this Irish team, who are very, very skilled and very well coached. And very experienced in playing these sorts of games. But it's going to be one hell of a game, that's for sure. And of course there are other ones which are going to be fascinating. England, Samoa, that'll be very interesting. England have underperformed, but so have Samoa at this World Cup.
And then, of course, Japan, Argentina.
Argentina again. Argentina again have not performed well as so far at this World Cup. So it'll be interesting to see if they can lift their game and if the Japanese can once again be a crowd favourite by maybe pulling off another victory.
Laurent, France, Italy. It's on paper, it really is a should win and likely win for France, but Italy have beaten France in the past, and there is now fresh images that Antoine Dupont is back in training. How important could that be, or do you think he'll even play?
No, I think we can beat Italy without Antoine Dupont. You know, I have some friends who make a former player for French team. They make hospitalities, and he have to buy tickets for the quarterfinal, and he wasn't sure against Italy. But we will win against Italy for maybe with 15 or 20 points. For sure, it will be not 96 points like the All Blacks, because we are Latin brothers, and it's always a different game. And the Italian they play against France every year, so they learn to play against us. But there is a difference between the two teams. They lost a prop. They lost maybe the hooker, the Italian. They have played on last Friday. We rest this weekend. So I'm not anxious at all, because French in this World Cup they are clinical, and they have the player to score. And I'm sure we will win against Italy. But for me, maybe the next weekend, the game which can surprise, it's the Georgian against the Welsh.
Georgian against the Welsh. That's an interesting one, and we hope to see them perform.
I mean, it would be wonderful to see, because Georgia again have produced some fantastic periods of rugby in this World Cup. They're showing great enthusiasm, great passion for the game, and they have expanded their style of play over the past few years to be a much more complete sort of game. But I just think that Wales showed against Australia that they're functioning on another level, and I think they should easily beat Georgia. I think also France should relatively easily beat Italy, but I don't think that Dupont. I don't think it's even on the cards for Dupont to play. Possibly for the quarterfinal, and even then, I don't think that would be a wise decision.
Well, we will see, of course, if Dupont does make it. We always want the best players to be playing in the tournaments, and of course we will be seeing all of those games as they come. Gentlemen, that's where we have to wrap up. Ian Borthwick, Laurent Bellet, thanks again for joining us here on this rugby special here on France 24. We'll see you, and we'll be bringing all the action when it comes later this week. That's bye for now.